Good morning and welcome. My name is Jaya Calder from Highlands and Islands Enterprise, and we're glad to have you along for this morning's NEXUS Code Clan webinar. Now, before I pass to my colleague, Andrea McCall, I would just like to go over a couple of little bits of housekeeping. If this is the first time that you've used a GoToWebinar, as the audience, you'll come in and you're automatically muted, but don't worry, we've got lots of ways that we would love you to get involved. You'll see a question box. Now, please put any questions, comments or observations in at any point throughout the whole of this morning's session, and we'll pick those up at the end with a Q&A. And you'll also see it looks like a raised hand icon. And what that does is if you click on that when we come to the question time, we can actually take you off mute and you can talk directly to our speakers. And finally, just to advise that we're recording today's session just to really share the messages far and wide. So I'd like to pass over to Andrea McCall to start our webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, Jaya, for the introduction. Yes, welcome to today's NEXUS webinar. The NEXUS webinar is part of a series of events that we run to connect the life sciences and technology community in the Highlands. And the events are funded by the Inverness City Region Deal and ERDF. But today I'm delighted to be able to showcase the digital skills that are available on our doorstep here. And we're joined by Code Clan, who are working with High to deliver a Digital Skills Academy. And again, that is a Northern Innovation Hub project delivered by High and funded by the City Region Deal. So Code Clan offer fast-track web developer courses and also a range of other courses, which we'll come to in the presentation today. But we're also joined by an employer and 2 graduates of the Code Clan course here in Inverness who can, I suppose, give us a bit more of an insight into the opportunities for businesses to upskill their workforce using Code Clan and, you know, be ready for the digital economy. So there are different options. Obviously, you can upskill your existing workforce. Rather than outsource the work, you could expand your workforce by hiring one of the local graduates. And as a student, obviously, you can increase your skills and learn new things and connect with a cohort of like-minded people, again, at your doorstep where you don't have to relocate. And one more thing I wanted to say before we get started with the first presentation is that there's actually support available. Funding is available through the interest-free digital development loan to assist employers with the course, really. Okay, so that's all from me. I just wanted to hand over to Melinda, who will take us through a set of slides. And then you can see our speakers here, but we'll try and keep our webcam on as well, so it's you can see who's speaking and you can connect with us. But let me move on to the first slide for Melinda, and we can take it from there.
Super, thank you. Hello, everybody. My name is Melinda Matthews-Clarkson, and I'm the CEO of Code Clan. And we transform careers and people, and our goal is to innovate Scotland. So my goal today is hopefully to inspire you about gaining new skills and knowledge, either personally for an employee or to bring on new energy into your businesses that are technical savvy. So Andrea, can we go to the next slide, please? Great. Little quick commercial here about Code Clan itself. Code Clan was the idea of Scotland Government, Skills Development Scotland, and Scotland IS, which is a membership board, and the industry. And it's considered one of the most successful industry and government initiatives. And over the last 4.5 years, Code Clan has grown from doing one type course with one language in programming to now having 3 campuses across Scotland. And right now, I would say 5 million potential campuses by bringing it to your home. We have 3 immersive courses. We have 8 short courses, which I think I can talk to you about a little later and maybe inspire you to spend 2 days to increase your knowledge around digital. We've had over 1,000 people come through our door And those are people that want to change their career, and you're going to hear from 2 of them later on today. We've also almost, in about 1 more month, we'll have 1,000 graduates, which is really a pretty amazing thought process. That the initiative here was to bridge the digital skills gap, and there's now over 1,000 people that are going to go out into the workforce that have new skills. So it can be done. And we have about 750 people have come in through our short courses and bespoke. We'll talk a little bit about that. We also do a great deal with charities. And we have a program called Client Experience, where when the students come through their immersive course, at the end of it, they give back. Okay, CodeClan's really, we're a social enterprise, we're a not-for-profit, but we are all about giving back to the community around inclusion, diversity, anything that helps the common community. And we have 15 charities that we work with, so that when the students finish their immersive course, they go and put 2 to 4 weeks into a charity. Give you an example. We're working with Alzheimer's Scotland, who've given us Alexa to go rip apart a bit to try to create an application for people in the beginning parts of dementia and Alzheimer's. So imagine being a programmer and actually working on something, taking Alexa apart, working with the charity to build an application that then could assist and help grandparents, parents, everybody out there in the community. So really, really good stuff. The other aspect is that we work with 250 partnerships, basically industry. And we'd like you to be part of our partnership model. And that partnership model allows you to, 1, tell us what kind of skills that you need, and either we can incorporate it in our immersive courses, we can add it as add-ons into our immersive course, or we can create small and short courses for your needs. But mostly our partnerships are about hiring, sponsoring new people into the workforce, and gaining knowledge onto your teams. So we went into an agreement with Highlands over 1.5 years ago, and it's been a very successful relationship. And you can see the sponsors across the bottom, and we're very happy to be up in Inverness as a campus and to be working with HIE in this initiative. So Andrew, if you can take me next slide, I can then get into what this initiative is. Bridging the digital skills gap is CodeClan's mission. It's simple to say, it's actually quite simple to execute, and we execute in 2 levels. We have individuals that come to us and they want to get into technology, they want to change their career, and we have paths to do that. One is in programming that we offer up in Inverness. We also offer down in the Central Belt right now a data analytics course, but right now, because we're all remote, and I'll talk about our remoteness, interactive learning, you can actually get into the data course, no issue. Then we also work with businesses, as I said, about upskilling, reskilling, maybe changing a whole department. You might have a non-redundancy model in your business, but you now have a bunch of people who are struggling through the digital transformation. We can help there. So at the beginning, as you can see in the picture there, we are very inclusive. And 110 days ago, we were physically inclusive. And one of the differentiators with CodeClan is our collaborative inclusion. And we really promote people working with people that maybe they would never have spoken to in the past. We make sure that as people go through the course, they team up, they learn, they accept others. And really this diversity inclusion is so important in our world today, as we can see from people who are taking it to the streets. And that's one of the core things about CodeClan. Then when we flipped on March 18th, or around there. We did a week before the government did. 175 people went from being in a building to being at home. And the picture that you have there of the Zoom of how we've taught our interactive classrooms. And what we have tried to do our best is not lose that inclusion that we had, the collaboration, the pair programming. And so we've used just different tools, whether it's WebEx, Zoom, Google Meets and such, to create the same environment that we had physically in the virtual environment. And so far, we have graduated 135 people during the last 110 days. And they have now come out with some amazing new skills of being able to collaborate virtually, being able to focus on a very complex and depth in projects with children running around, children being bored, dogs, cats all across the screen, feeling Zoom headaches, being able to go out and walk. And what we've done is we've incorporated a great deal of socials and things that are healthy, cook-offs, jazzy shirt days, and all sorts of stuff. So can you take me to the next slide, please, Andrea? So who graduates from Code Clan? Well, you're going to talk to Julie today and James, and they are amazing examples of two star performers that went through our immersive course up in Inverness. Our Inverness course covers 500 hours of coding, and it will have Python, which is a new addition where we've taken Ruby out and put Python in as a language, and JavaScript. And those two are learned over 500 hours of coding, labs, interactive testing, and doing that. And we also surround this as much as possible with soft skills. Because soft skills, as you'll see as I go along a little bit, are some of the most amazing skills that industry is looking for today, okay? Those soft skills include learning how to network, now learning how to do it virtually, being able to present. And so I'm sure Julie and James are going to give me a grade at the end of this because I had to teach them a presentation skill course. We get into CVs, we get into LinkedIn, we get into learning how to learn, mental health and how to balance yourself. And ultimately, at the end of the immersive course, we want to have an individual who feels confident, job ready, growth mindset. They know they can do it. They just got to go look it up, research, network to find it. And to employers here, and this is going to sound a bit strange, but kind of a low maintenance employee. We're teaching them how to take the skills and knowledge that they bring to the table and then apply it to tech and being able to then help the business grow. So Andrew, if you take me to the next slide, please. Who upskills at Code Clan? And so this is an example of who wants to come to Code Clan for a short course. And in this example, we are using two courses that we have. One is a 5-day course and one's a 3-day course. And at the center of our core of our mission statement is programming and data. Okay, that's what at the moment we are as our core principles. And what we do is as we come out of that core, we make sure that the people that would interface and become programmers, scrum masters, data analytics managers, database managers and such, that we make sure that that next level is educated and upskilled. But you also need the C-suite, the executives, the management to understand and have knowledge about what's going on. Because if you have knowledge, you can shorten life cycles of getting things out the door. You can, you'd be more inclusive with your employees. You understand the full work cycle that would happen to get something out. And as you see, there's a quote from Lloyd, someone from Lloyd's, who asked us to do a bespoke, which is now our agile software development life cycle course, because he was a manager, a product leader manager, and he needed to get more jargon, understand the work cycles, how long things take, so he could better engage the team and use the team to get everybody in the same direction. So who upskills? Anybody, but mostly we see people in management and that next level down trying to get new skills around what's going on. And right now with COVID, your client experience, your UX, your user experience is the most important thing from a technology standpoint that everybody needs to be addressing. Because the new norm, whether your business had to change or you had to change, your customers most likely had to change. And if you don't have a good UX on it, they might go to the next. And that UX can be B2B or B2C. So really kind of important. We have a UX course. You can look it up on the website. So Andrew, can you go to the next slide for me? As you can see, I'm a pretty enthusiastic individual about it's time to act. The remote working is here to stay, gang. I never thought I could take a face-to-face learning environment and flip it in 3 days and still be 100% moving forward. And we've done it. Now, it's not the best, I'll agree, but we're surviving and now we're thriving. And that is one of the words that I'm starting to use. And some people, especially Scots, don't like that word thriving. It means that you're taking advantage, maybe, that you're above the parapet. That's not what I'm talking about here. It's thriving, that our businesses have energy, have clients, have employees that care. And that's what we're trying to promote here. Resilience is one of the #1 things that companies are looking for. And boy, over the last 110 days, have we learned whether we are resilient or not. We've also learned whether we love our spouses, dogs, cats, children, and everything else around us. And that resilience of being patient has really taught us a few lessons. The recession is approaching. We hate to say it. And at the moment, the last statistic I saw, there are more people furloughed in the Highlands region than there are across Scotland. So your percentage of people to furloughed is pretty high. And the goal is hopefully to get all those people back into their work and then meet this challenge of the new norm. And all the companies are going to have to meet this challenge. Investing in digital and data skills will increase the productivity of your employees. There's no question about it. It will increase your productivity. And the mindsets truly have to shift right now from a fixed and to a growth. And a fixed mindset says it's Groundhog Day. I don't know what day it is. I just get up, I go, I do 10 Zoom calls, I come back, I eat, I do, right? That's kind of this fixed mindset that the pandemic has actually pushed us into. And if anybody who knows me, I am not a fixed mindset kind of individual. I'm total growth. I even find right now it is get up, figure out what I'm gonna do with the heck with this hair, get on a Zoom call, do my emails, can't wait till 6 o'clock, shut it down, go get that bread that I've had raising all day long, do it, go, repeat, repeat, repeat. And I changed myself a bit. I took a 4-day course on yin yoga, and I'm a big yoga person, to get my certification. And in those 4 days, I couldn't wait to get to my Zoom. I couldn't wait to be up at 7, learning, changing, learning, going. I felt so energized, and it was basically putting energy back into me. And that's what learning does. And whether you hire somebody that just had all that energy come through, because when you talk to Julie and James, you're going to see it, or whether you invest in yourself and do it through short courses or take our course, it's really important. Because right now, after this Groundhog Day of 3 months, we need to invest in ourselves, our businesses, and our people. And I request that you find it time to do it now. Because if not now, when? This recession is going to come. It's going to roll over us a little bit. And in March 2021, we need to be ready and going. It's going to take a while for all of this to transition. And hopefully everybody will be back on their feet and we'll be moving forward. But if we don't act, if you don't personally act, where are you going to be in 6, 8 months? So I think the time is now. Can you switch to the next slide? So let's talk about now, and what I'm talking about is knowledge and skills. They're 2 different things, okay? So knowledge is about knowing, okay? It's about having the ability to understand something pretty quick. And what you have there is an example of a full stack web developer site. Full stack site. Now, I can draw the pictures, I can draw a website, but if you look at the skills underneath, that's the code. That's the skill. That's the doing that needs constant practice to gain confidence, to then you get a growth mindset around it, and that you are taking your knowledge and applying it in an application. Practice makes perfect, practice makes growth, and you learn by doing. And that essence of what you see in the skills area is what we have in our extensive immersive courses. But what we do in the knowledge space are 2-day type courses. What's Python for data? You can take our courses, you can take some other data courses out there, like how do you use data in your business? How do you leverage data? It's a great one by Data Lab, and I think there's some slides maybe later on to talk about that, or you can talk to your Data Lab representative out of High. But this whole aspect of learning some things in a small type, 4 days, 5 days, gains your knowledge. And then you can appreciate the people who have the skills. And so those are the two things that I think we need to look at ourselves at the moment, look at our businesses and think, what kind of knowledge can I get? Could be knowledge of what tool to use, right? Am I Zoom? Am I WebEx? Am I go to webinars? I mean, we're all learning that, and that's knowledge. It's not really a skill. So embrace it, and it's in your control. That's the most important right now. It is in your control. So can I have my next slide, please? So let's talk about the control. I think there's 3 elements here for our future. And I've spent a great deal of time working with the Scottish government. I'm on the Skills and Enterprise Board about how are we going to get this restart and recovery. I've seen a great deal of information about what sectors are going to be challenged and what sectors need to grow. And so I've put this out in 3 kind of lumps. And then we can talk about, maybe if you want, it's a great place for if anybody wants to put a chat box up and ask some questions. So the first thing we need to do is to have our employees and ourselves have our basic productivity. Let's be clear, the UK is not the shining star in productivity across Europe or around the world. And being the size of the economics and the people and the fact that even Scotland, but the UK has some of the highest educated individuals in Europe, but the productivity is less, okay? So we've got to get the productivity up. And because we are remote, it's an easier way to do so, but you've got to make sure your employees know how to use the tools, know what that next level is. I was just on a webinar earlier and the woman got on and said, Melinda, I need you to do this to your Zoom account so no one can come in and hack it. I hadn't learned that little trick and tip. Great, good productivity. And those little things are so important because they build confidence. When people have confidence, they lean in and they do more. So this basic productivity about how to network, how to use your stats, understanding where the business is, really important. And in that, the next thing here, what I have called web development, and it leans into productivity, e-commerce. This is my old business or my old thing that I did for years. There's always programming and development, the UX and all of that stuff behind it. But I think if your local high street, think about it. Did your butcher have a website that you could do click and collect? All of those little things, the baker, the card store, all the things that make our unique villages just that special charm, they need help. They really do need help. And I think e-commerce is one of those things that is just going to explode again. Specifically, I mean, 5 years ago, the UK was the most e-commerce country in the world, and not anymore. So it's time to get that back up. The analytics, the data analytics, that's my glass that you see there. Data, unharness it. It's just, it's there for us. We have the tools. We can get you the knowledge from us or the Data Lab. That's in great collaboration with the teams here. And it's so important. And understanding how the web works, really neat. And you need to do it. Whether it's just how does an application work, or what is the deep dive web. The other aspect I have on here is IoT. And IoT means Internet of Things. And this, I think, is going to be the game changer coming up. So just think about it. If you need to go back to the office, how are you going to go, and this is going to sound a bit weird, to the bathroom? There's only a certain amount of people that are allowed in the bathroom. Now, I know at High, in your lovely facility and campus, you have individual stalls, right? But how many people could queue up before that? So we're working on a little counter to count how many people went through the door so that only a certain number can go through. Every business, every place, if we get back to restaurants, all of that's going to have to happen. So think, get creative, use your mind. What sensors and collecting that data or presenting that data can make your life or your business go better. And in life sciences, you must have tons of ideas. I'd love to actually hear them. The other things we have on here, I'll move on, I'm sure I'm over my time, is cloud and anything around the cloud and how we leverage that for our businesses. Security is extremely important, but also remember that right now our world needs to recover. Not only do we need to recover from the pandemic in sense from our mental health, we have physical health, we have the planet. I mean, there are some people who are so upset that public transportation is going to kick back in because it's going to hurt our climate. What are we going to do with, before plastic bottles were bad, and all of a sudden we're back to plastic bottles because it's the only way to keep it safe, right? From sharing water and water jugs and such. There's so much happening in there that technology, oops, can you go back one for me? That technology could do. And the last thing here I want to talk about is World Health and the judicial system. Our judicial system needs some upgrading into the digital world, and I do believe that that is something that is the next wave that's going to have to happen. So you can see all the things across the bottom. We can send out these slides if you like, but now I will take my next slide, Andrea. So let's get back to Inverness. We have a new cohort starting in August, and it's a 12-week course on web development. So that thing that was right in the middle there, that's what I'm talking about. So if you want to kickstart your career and learn more about the web development and learn Python and JavaScript, please talk to Susan, put your application in. You can do so through codeclan.com, and we can take you through those 500 hours and all the soft skills that you have. The class starts, and I think, Susan, you have a few tasters that are coming up. I was hoping they were on the bottom of this slide, but if you could unmute just 1 sec and tell me what the date is.
Next one is 2nd of July.
2nd of July. Okay. So a taster is you get on a call, you've got your computer, and we take you through the experience. It's about 2 hours. Believe me, it's worth the time. If anything, you're going to gain knowledge. It's free, and you can learn what web development's about. And so it's on July 2nd, and I'm sure Susan will be sending out information to you. Can I have my next slide, Andrea?
Just to say we're running quite late, Melinda, so if you could give us a quick overview. Thank you.
I will. Real quick. We're calling it summer school, and this is all about gaining knowledge in different areas. It is to your doorstep, no question about it. It's all remote. We have 3 for data, and if you go to the next slide, Andrea. And then we have 5 in the development area, okay? If you really want to learn anything else in just doing programming, we do have a 5-week course on JavaScript to come in and learn that if you have some development in your background, and we'll take you through. So Andrea, I can go to my next slide. There we go. This is me in closing. So CodeClan provides knowledge and skills. These have been based around what the industry has demanded. And if there's something you don't see there, please contact us. And if we can't do it, maybe some of our fellow training providers will. We are working with the government actually every day. My next call is a board meeting with them about what skills and what schemes to help and incent people to get retrained and upskilled. And we are a diverse, interactive, inclusive environment. And I hope that you will take some action personally. And whether it's you want to learn skills in data or in web development, or take my thing and go learn about yoga, whatever you do, please take the time, invest in yourself, invest in your career. And I think you will be in a good place come March 2021. Thank you for your time. So I'm going to hand over to Mark Grindle, who is the Digital Health Research Lead at UHI. And I am sorry, Mark, I ate into your time, but please take it away.
Thank you, Melinda. And no, that's all very, very interesting and useful background and context. What I want to do is dig into the notion of transformation that you mentioned, just by telling 2 stories, 2 case studies of individuals that went through Code Clan and over the last year. But first, let me just give you this as background. So I work with UHI, the Institute for Health Research and Innovation, at the Centre for Health in Inverness. We work in the obviously digital health, but active aging, biotechnology, nanotechnology, genetics, diabetes and cardiovascular, and increasingly the need for digital skills, in particular data science, is aligning with all of those those health needs. I work within rural health and well-being, and our focus there is very much around mental health in rural context. And again, in Highlands, we out of necessity, we've had to use telehealth, etc. And now we're looking at how we can, reduce the journeys and backwards and forwards from, remote locations. And one project in particular we're looking at is in comparisons with Scotland and young people in mental health, and young people in South Africa and Myanmar, Colombia, and that's very much around the use of virtual reality. We're doing some work in that area, which brings me to my first story. I should briefly mention that my background isn't in health, it's in film, television and computer games. I became interested in the use of audiovisual and interactive entertainment to engage health behaviours and particularly in the area of mental health. So the story, literally a year ago, I had knew 2 PhD students. One was Sean Yurden, who was doing a PhD with me in the digital health team at UHI. Sean was working on virtual reality and mental health in patients, and he learned some coding himself, but by background he was a social scientist, sociologist, and he did most of his learning through YouTube, and he built a prototype and tested it. The other person was actually my son. This time last year, he was about to graduate. Well, we didn't know that he was about to graduate. He hoped that he would pass his exams, and at Glasgow University doing philosophy. In August, Adam Giangreco, our commercial director, who I work closely with in the field of digital health, approached me and said there are places on Code Clan. Do you have any staff you could allocate to it? And actually, we were full capacity. And even though I spoke with staff and saw the benefits of it, there were none that we could allocate at the time. Again, just up to capacity. And the emphasis was very much, here's a place, we don't want to lose this opportunity. Now, by chance, my wife happened to mention to my son that he had some vague interest in coding, and so I mentioned it to him. I mentioned that this place was going, and at the time, and I think he would appreciate me saying this, wouldn't mind me saying this, he was like that. The world wasn't a great place, and this is the transformation story. And 2 days later, there was a deadline, was quite tight. He said, "I'm going to do it." 2 days later, he got himself a flat up in Inverness, cheaper than I was ever able to get, and had done his interviews with Code Clan, secured himself a place. By November, he'd secured himself an interview with Raven Controls. He went down that was a Wednesday by phone. On the Friday, he did the interview. By the Monday, he was given a job, secured a job before he'd left Fringe Code Clan. Now, the reason for that was because of Code Clan, was because of the confidence that he gained in that very short window of time. I'm not going to talk about programming languages here. I'm talking about the soft skills he learned. Now, when Callum graduated on the 22nd of November last year, I walked in the room and I kid you not, I could have wept. This young, elegant man was parading around the room, talking with people, was confident. And it was, like I said, I literally could have, he was transformed. And since then, he has been working with Ravens Control. They work very much in the area of real-time situational awareness. They're the contract to do the Euro 2020, which was obviously cancelled, but he's very much isolated, and as everybody else is, but very much part of that team now. And having graduated with first class in philosophy, no coding, he is now a confident young developer. Sean went to finish his PhD. It was December. There was a place, Code Clan. He applied. He secured himself a place. As I say, relatively little programming himself. And by spring of this year, when Sean graduated, he is now working on a project that we've secured with CSO to the use of digital storytelling in the field of working in, and to address mental health in frontline NHS workers. And he was able to plug in and work really confidently. That's the story of the transformation of two individuals that went through Code Clan. As I say, I can tell a story, and it can be fake news. This isn't fake news. This was absolutely authentic observation of two individuals who literally were transformed over the space of 1 year. And I hope personally that at UHI we can continue to develop our relationship with Code Clan. We have a real need for people who can come in, code, prototype, rapid prototype, turn it around, test. And I'm only very positive about the relationships that are set up with Highlands Enterprise, Code Clan, us, and I would encourage anybody to do it.
Thank you, Mark. That's great. Great to hear such inspiring stories. Coming to Julie next, about her story.
Just unmute. Okay, thanks, Mark. That was great. Yeah, just to give you an idea of my journey. So I was a computer programmer for 10 years. And then I took a career break, started a family. It was quite a long career break. So I was looking at a way to get back into the industry, and I came across Code Clan, and it absolutely ticked all the boxes for me. The course structure, there was lots of labs, just all the group programming and everything around it, not just the programming, all the industry talks, the PDA qualification, just absolutely ticked all the boxes for me. And the fact that it was 12 weeks. So the actual course itself, yes, it was a roller coaster for me, but I never felt lost. You know, I could ask lots of questions. I just felt supported. It was just a really lovely, friendly, supportive environment. Susan's door was always open if I needed anything, and that environment got me through. And after the 12 weeks, I had this new skill set. I was confident, and I was just ready to face the next challenge. So in February, myself and Mike, who was on the first cohort, we started as junior developers at Pinnacle. So we settled really quickly. Pinnacle have been amazing, just so supportive. So we've obviously been learning lots from Pinnacle, but we've also been able to share what we learned at CodeClan, so it's been a sort of two-way thing. We've been involved in lots of projects. We're working on an augmented reality project, UI UX. We're doing stuff with mobile development. So lots going on, and it's really great being part of the Pinnacle team. So getting back to CodeClan, I just, absolutely 100% recommend CodeClan. It's a model that really works. It helped me get back into the industry and helped me get back in quickly. And I just say to anyone out there who's thinking of doing the course, just go for it. It's an awesome course. Just go for it.
Thanks, Julie. That's great. Great to hear your story. I guess there will be many people like you out there who are looking after a career break to get into things. So that's a great example. And coming to James.
Good morning, everyone. My name is James Roberts. I am Head of Creative Brand and Digital for a project called Expo North, which is delivered by Ironworks Venue. Our project is one that sits within creative industries, heritage and digital, and we connect networks together in order to get them to business that covers heritage, publishing, sync deals. We run a network of support throughout the year, and then we also have a conference which happens every year as well. I joined CodeClan as part of my employment, so I was upskilled with it. I'd already had quite a history of working within tech. I was the kind of guy who was asked to fix things if it had keyboards, and had been with doing front-end development from a user perspective with international companies such as Ticketmaster and TicketWeb. Within 3 weeks of starting CodeClan, we're running SQL tables. Within 5, I'd started to build apps within Ruby, which was creating my own wallets. Within 11 weeks, I worked as part of a team of 3 to create an API called Digital Bitcoin Portfolio, which we could track in real time what our wallets were worth. If you told me 12 weeks prior to that that's what we'd be doing at the end of it, I'd be like, okay, I can be productive, but I don't know if that's possible. CodeClan changed my mindset in the fact that it is possible. We can be completely open to expanding our minds and growing as individuals, and learning, constantly learning first. We learned code. We learned Ruby and JavaScript, but also the soft skills that we learned within CodeClan, the inclusive environment, the one of supporting our fellow graduates. We all are graduates at the end of this. Was one of great benefit, and I took not only my coding skills back to my employer, but also a vast array of new ways of working and new ways of thinking, agile methodology, sprinting. The fact that we now have confidence to deliver digital tech at a level which is a lot higher than it previously was, but also have the confidence to scrutinize our supply chain for it. CodeClan, not only from a coding point of view, but also one of mindset and one of skills that are external to development, was very, very valuable. And I, as an employee, would recommend this to any employers who are looking to upskill their staff in order for them to remain digitally relevant in the future. I would highly recommend.
Great, thank you, James. That's fantastic. So that concludes the speakers so far, but happy to take any questions now, Jaya, if you've got any ready for us.
Okay, big thanks to all of our speakers. I think we really benefited from some really brilliant speakers, and it's always great to be engaged. One of the questions we've had in is, will we be circulating the presentations, and we'll be sharing the recordings and the presentation to be as collaborative and as sharing as we can. We want this message out far and wide, so absolutely, as Andrea said at the beginning of the webinar, we'll be putting out an email after. Now, I think that I've put out to the audience, if you would like to talk directly to our speakers today, then don't be shy. It's all very human. Please use your raised hand icon and we'd love to hear from you. So if anyone wants to use that raised hand icon now, but in the meantime, if I can come to Claire or Andrea, I think you had a question already submitted prior to the beginning of the webinar, yeah? I think it was around about, I think it was a question that was to James. How do you feel your company has developed as a result of your new digital skills? And that question's to James.
We've been fortunate in a position that we've not only started to learn from the way of working that was put together, and the fact that I can take new methodology back to my companies. It's not all just about coding, it's about actual the practice of working. But in a post-lockdown world, shall we say, even though hopefully, you know, today being the 18th of June, we may be getting some good news later on. But we were in a position that we were able to adapt our delivery model very quickly. We, I think I mentioned before, provide a conference, which is yearly, and that's held in a physical location. But next week, starting on Wednesday the 24th, we'll actually have been in a position to shift that entire delivery model online. And that's over 30 sessions across 2 days in a webinar development context. We've been able to develop a delivery model for it, which has been based by tech. If we didn't have that head start of tech, then the transition to delivery online would have been a lot more challenging. I can find analogs to that in any other sector, whether it's retail, whether it's education. Ours is events, effectively, for that purpose. With the development course, I was able to apply a developer mindset to program things, to think about things methodically, and use that mindset skill as well as coding ability to scrutinize the supply chain, to find products that we feel would not only suit us now, but also would allow us to explore further concepts such as gamification mechanics, as well as having products that are set in place which are future-proof for when, fingers crossed, we're all allowed back into, you know, the real world, whenever that may be. But effectively, that allowed me to scrutinize any expenditure to make sure that it's future-proofed as best as possible. So,
James, thank you very much. That's absolutely great. Now, we've had a question in specifically for Susan and Melinda. Have you heard from specific employers whose digital needs have changed since COVID-19 started?
I think I can take that one. Susan, I'll hand it off to you if you just wave if you've got an answer. The first is the basic productivity. I think that's the #1 thing that we've heard over and over again. So I think there's 3 examples of what happened with COVID. Either some companies went and then just put everybody on furlough. And now they're trying to figure out, how do they get them back out? How do they create a remote working model? That was one. And so that whole basic productivity was one. The second is they've kept going, some furloughed, some not, but then realized that their customers disappeared. And so they are really in that now. How do I go after the customers? How do I engage with them differently? How do I use data and digital marketing and SEO? And what does the analytics say about my customers? Where are they now? Are they still in business? And then the also aspect then of the people that just have been charging on is, what ways can we support our clients' needs for growing? So yes, the skills matrix has changed a bit, but it's more about how to do business, where's my client, and what kind of tools are out there to do that. Tools have been there for quite a while. People just didn't know how important they were going to be. Susan, any comment from you?
I agree. That's what I've got written down. I think for me, it's mainly the remote working. and how we can support businesses going forward. So yeah, no, thank you, Melinda.
And I'll go back to that e-commerce. I mean, garden centers, all of a sudden, you know, the sentence, they're on Facebook. They didn't take what an e-commerce site could do for them seriously in the past. No, you know, people always come and get their geraniums from me today. You know, how do they get geraniums out? So a lot of that horticulture and that aspect, you know, all of the, I don't know if you have it in your villages where everybody gets together and they have a farmer's market, you know, those are history at the moment. We need to get those back. How can they do that? And technology can help.
Thank you very much. Thanks to both Susan and Melinda. Now, here's a general question. Is there financial support available for businesses who want to sponsor an employee through the course?
I'll hand that one to you, Susan.
Yes, there is support available, and I would encourage you, if you want to upskill someone, just to get in touch with me and we can discuss the support available. If you go to codeclan.com, my phone number and email address is on there, and happy to chat to you at any time.
I will add, though, you will see how good of am I in my crystal ball and the government's capability of executing. I think you'll see by August funding out there from a digital start fund that was out in last year and was really useful for people that have lost their jobs or have an income less than 16K. That is a full funded, you don't have to pay it back ride. SDS will be putting those out, and there's CodeClan and many other training providers that can get you the education you're looking for with that voucher type model. They will also be coming out with the Transformation Training Fund. I think a few years back, you might have experienced that really from an Aberdeen standpoint, but it was oil and gas. They are going to use that type of process format again. I have no idea what industries it will affect or be part of. And I don't know what the strip end of that one from a financial perspective would be, but I will tell you right now that the Scottish government, I wish as an American, I got to tell you, I think you've got one of the best government support funding capabilities around. I've never seen anything like it. And they are all about skills, upskilling, keeping businesses afloat, and making sure that the unemployment rate is kept to a minimum.
Thank you. Now we've got another couple of questions in that we've got time to cover, and this is to all of our speakers. What tips can you share for successful collaborative working when physical joint working isn't possible? And if we can have maybe 30 seconds from each of our speakers, thanks.
Go for it, Julie.
Well, we've Pinnacle just lots of Google Meets, and Mike and myself have been doing lots of paired coding and just trying to keep things, you know, as the same, you know, as we can. Obviously, we're not physically next to each other, but still trying to work in a similar way.
Thanks, Julie. Okay, next along the line, Susan.
Yeah, I think communication is key. I think we're not in the physical environment now, but we need to communicate. So have a little stand up in the morning, just a little meeting to start off your day so everyone knows where everyone's at, what everyone's doing. But I'd say absolutely communication is key.
Thanks, James.
I like how everyone's on the same wavelength. I would 100% say communication, making sure that you still have even face-to-face communication for that, and also being ideas driven. We're in a new world. We need to think differently. So all ideas are open for collaboration, and also making sure that we maintain good posture and walks between desks.
Thank you. Melinda.
I'm going to go with the communication, but I love walk and talks. So I'm, after a while, tired of being connected to this laptop, right? So just get the headset in and talk like the old-fashioned days and just go for a walk. Try to not talk about work, but really as a manager and as a leader, making sure that you connect with the other individual and their mental health away. And by walking, you're doing physical health. And so encouraging each other in a teaming perspective to get out, talk. I have a walk and talk buddy. He's around the corner. His name is Tony. And we just talk about food and cooking. And I get excited then for my next walk and talk with him. And we're collaborating all the time at work. But this allows us to become a team.
Thank you, Melinda. And Mark?
Yeah, I'm going to reinforce the communication argument. Absolutely all about communication, but just ensure that you're using all channels and everybody's knows what the channels are in advance. So don't just use VC, but communicate. Again, as Melinda said, by the phone, keep that channel open, because we do miss those moments between meetings. We used to call them the water cooler moment, the moment by the cafe. Those are sometimes those moments where the real stuff and insight and innovation happens. So keep those channels open.
Thank you very much. That was great responses from all of our speakers. Now, the next question, how can local businesses get involved with supporting the GREAT programme? Who would like to take that one?
Okay, so I'll take it a second, and Susan, as soon as I cue it, you'll go like this. So we have industry talks. So let's go back to that soft skill aspect. Every week right now, because of the pandemic, because there's a lot of industries available to talk, but we look for people to come in and give their story, right? So I'm sure Julie and James heard probably 5 different companies came in, and an individual, like how they got into programming, or what the company does, right? I mean, there's so many companies that do so many interesting things that you never know, like, you know, marine biology and doing all the data underneath. What did the whale that got beached eat? There's so many things like that. So companies that join our partnership, it's free to join and be a partner with CodeClan. So just do that. Then in that partnership type model, you can do industry talks. You could put a business problem out there for our projects. Like James talked about, he didn't know he was going to build a wallet. And next thing you know, he's doing an API in Bitcoin. You could put your suggestion in, you know, how could we fix this problem? We look for speakers at our graduation to enthuse and inspire them to move on. And I think, Susan, you do a few other things. I'm not quite sure, but any of our social nights, pub quizzes that we do virtually, you know, come along.
Thank you. We've had a request for people to be provided with details of the interest-free digital development fund, and I think that's something that we'll follow up with along with the recording and the slides, just because we're in our final 1 minute of the webinar. And thanks for a comment that's come in, another excellent webinar, application in life sciences for software, AR, VR, and capturing data securely is absolutely essential. CodePlan addresses both the hard and the soft skills. So thank you very much to one of our audience members for putting that in. We are at a close, so I'd just like to pass back to Andrea from Highlands and Islands Enterprise to conclude our webinar. Andrea.
Yes, thank you very much. Everyone who has spoken today, it's been really inspiring, great to hear so many good stories and hear about the opportunities that there are for businesses to get involved. So we'll make sure that's all included again in the follow-up email, alongside with a SurveyMonkey link, because we're looking for all your feedback in the audience about how you found the webinar and any other speakers you might want to see in the future as well. So yeah, thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you everyone for presenting, and please look out for your follow-up email.
Thanks now. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.